You're welcome to stay and voice your.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for coming out. All of you. We may as well get started. We're a couple of minutes late. My name is Dick Haskell. I'm the program manager for the city's road program. And with us tonight are the design engineers for District 4, Chen Moore. Suzanne Dombrowski is going to be heading that staff tonight to take you through the particular projects in year 3 in District 4. Just basic generalities up front. I'm sure you're aware of the inception of the bond program back in, I think, late 2016 when it was approved by referendum. We actually started hitting the ground early 2017, so we got a head start on it. And we've advanced a lot of projects. This is only the second calendar year of the program, but here we are talking to you about year 3 projects. So we kind of crammed 2 years into one, which is why I'm getting a lot of comments around town. Just generally speaking, the sequence of the segments in terms of their priority, whether they're in year 1, year 2, year 3, or year 4, is based on 2 things. First of all is what we call the pavement condition index, PCI. It's based on a study that was done for actually the first time they tried to pass the bond, and then they revisited it and updated it in 2016 the second time. And basically what was done was a study, more of a desktop study, if you will, of the pavement condition in all of the streets in town. And based on that, the consultant came up with a condition, assigned a condition index to the streets from 0 to 100. Now, the bond program, and that's the 0 being the worst and 100 being, excellent. So the bond program is geared towards, obviously, getting a jump start on the repair and rehabilitation of the roadway system in Lake Worth. Excuse me. It was based on the dollars that were available and the estimates, the construction estimates. A PCI of 60, not arbitrarily, but it's just kind of where the dollar amount was cut off. PCI of 60 was the cutoff for segments to make this bond program, so through the first 4 years. What's going to happen beyond that is that the city is revisiting, they have started revisiting their maintenance programs and channeling more funding towards their roadway maintenance, perhaps looking at some of the sales tax money to advance that. If by chance there are any surplus funds in the bond after all of the segments that were identified in the bond are done after year 4, that money, if commission so chooses, can be applied to going after some of the roads above 60 in terms of the PCI. There are several things that they can do with that, but that's a commission decision. That's one of the options. The other priority that factors into that would be any other city capital programs, primarily utility, that have projects that are programmed in a particular year that coincides with the bond. So, and that's so that we only go into Ontario Road at one time, which is, wow, planning, what a concept. So for that reason, you'll probably notice that there are some roadway segments that are included in the bond project that appear that they really don't need any road work. Or there may be, compared to another segment over here that looks like it's in much worse condition, which seems to be in an out year or is not in that particular program. That's because that segment had a utility capital project that coincided with the bond program around it. So as an example, the year 1 in District 2, which is up in the northeast corner of town, the northwest corner of town, the neighborhood, East and West Terrace Drive, over on the west side of the interstate, was part of that project. Virtually all of that work was water upgrades, but it was included in the overall project. It was a very large project in District 2 for year 1, so that work could coincide with utility department's capital plan for water main upgrades out there at that point in time. So just a brief explanation of why, if you may see a road that doesn't look like it really needs any work, but it's getting work and it's missing. That's why. With that, I will turn the meeting over to Suzanne, and she will introduce her staff and take you through the project.
Thank you. So my name is Suzanne Dombrowski with Chen Moore, and we have Mike Albert here and Natalie. They're the engineers working on our projects. So as mentioned before, we have various projects within District 4. In this map, if you want to take a closer look later on, this is separated by year. So you can see what year. You obviously see a lot of stuff going on right now under construction. But we do have the different types of projects. So we have the roadway projects included in the bond program, but also the utility projects and a couple drainage segments. So this map right here, you'll see the blue lines refer to the utility water main projects. The orange are the drainage and the yellow are the roadway. All of the green are the year 1 projects that are either completed construction already or currently under construction. So the water main projects, the main intent is that the existing water mains are undersized, they're too small, and they're old. So that means they're very susceptible to breaks. They might not provide enough pressure to give a fire hydrant what it needs to put out a fire. So we are proposing newer water mains with the newest materials, also larger ones so that we can put more fire hydrants on there, give more fire protection to the neighborhood in those areas. For the drainage, we are going to improve, there's an outfall here on 17th Avenue, so we are going to be making improvements to that outfall, and we're going to be adding a new outfall on 15th Avenue. And this is really, the drainage improvements here, we're going to be interconnecting a few different outfalls, because I know a couple of them get overwhelmed. If we interconnect them, it's going to spread it out a little bit, because this area really takes a lot of water from the whole district, well, half the district. So that's the intent of these improvements. Florida, it rains a lot. It's not going to be completely dry all the time, but it is going to help a lot of that water get away. So for the roadway improvements, the type of improvement we do really depends on the condition of what the street looks like. So some streets will be getting sidewalk, some curb and gutter, some will be getting just new asphalt, and some we might have to actually dig down into the asphalt and go under, improve the base, and get the road all the way rebuilt. We are looking at some safety improvements. We're going to be installing new striping at all the crosswalks. As you'll see fresh paint there. And we'll be doing some improvements to the ADA ramps, making sure everything is compliant, ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, people with wheelchairs, blind, so that they can navigate the streets as well. So this is, I can show you the typical section. This is for a 40-foot right-of-way or a 60-foot right-of-way. This is what the city likes to have, but again, we're only going to be making improvements if the condition warrants it. So if it was a full road replacement, this is what we would like to put back, but if not, we might just be putting pieces back. So we do have, in the roadway improvements, we're including some traffic calming elements. We've got some bump outs in there, and those are going to be stamped concrete. It will look like brick, but the stamped concrete is a little more durable. So that'll help with the speed issues. And there are some existing bump outs I've seen that have some trees in there, and those are all going to stay in place. And we do have, after the meeting, if you want to come up here and vote, we've got some stickers for you. And you can let us know really what's most important to you. These type of improvements like streetscape, if you like those historic signs, which we are doing if it's a city historic district. The crosswalks, we're not planning on doing these, we call them zebra crosswalks, we're really just doing the 2 white bars, which is really typical for a residential neighborhood. And then the sidewalk improvements. And for the traffic calming, you got a couple options. We've got these speed reducers like a speed hump, the bump outs, which I already talked about. And then there are some areas with a shared bike lanes. So we like to know what's most important to you for your streets. So I'm happy to take any questions, and then after the meeting, if you'd like to come up and place your votes, take that information back with us.
I'm glad to see that on the drainage one. That was our biggest problem, like you said. That whole section, we're on Lakeside Palms Court, and that whole section becomes totally flooded and backs up, and there's no place for it to go on the street at all.
Right.
So it ends up not only coming out of the drain.
Right, so it's going in the pipes, everything's coming in the pipes and then coming back out.
And I see you have to be routing to 15th and out.
Yeah, so we're making improvements so that can go, you're here, right?
Yeah, and there's like no place for it to go.
Right, so we're gonna pipe it down,
I
and it'll be,
appreciate
So
that's
that's,
added on.
that's gonna be added on when you do that?
yeah, so when we do that segment, we'll be installing the drainage here and coming down there.
Can you explain to me how it
15th
works?
Avenue is a bond segment.
Okay.
So we will be looking at, as Suzanne explained, the improvements to the outfall here, trying to pick this drainage up.
Yeah.
17th Avenue South is not a bond segment. The city is aware of drainage issues down there, particularly with the roadway and the outfall and everything else. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at it and probably do some design work on it. At this point in time, I don't know if that's gonna be in the project or not. It depends on if the city can, where the cost estimates come in, if the city can find funding, because the bond can't pay for the drainage projects. So if the city can find funding for it, we'll probably include it in the project. If not, we'll have a set of plans that are ready to go.
Since I'm not an engineer, how do you do, we have the two drains, one on each side of the street. How do they actually pull them together, or how does it work?
Already timed.
So
Underground
there'll be
pipe.
pipe underground, those are like big concrete boxes, and they're
Yeah.
connected by pipe,
And then, so they're just
and
between
then it's
each other?
piped to the outfall, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll start burning palm trees in there.
And-
Yes, that would help actually. Don't put trees over the drainage or over your water lines.
And the
That'll-
polymer.
This is growing out of,
Out of the
right out
drain?
through the, up through the ground.
Yeah, that's
Because
gonna stop
it
all the
never-
water, because there's probably a big blue ball in that pipe there.
Yeah.
What's happening at this intersection, if I'm not mistaken, there are a couple of catch basins there, but they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's connected
Exactly.
to a French drain system.
Exactly, that's what we have, that's why
I
it doesn't
called the
work.
city about 2 years ago.
Unfortunately, French
They
drain
didn't even know what they were doing.
don't, this close to the intercoastal,
It doesn't work.
because the water table is so shallow, they really don't work that well.
Yeah, it just doesn't work at all, it's
We
a
know
joke.
that. We live right there in the corner.
Yeah, and sometimes they might work when they're first installed, and then after years and years, they get a little bit clogged, and then they don't work as well.
Yeah,
so.
it's,
They can never drink. Unless it's a
we were like,
drought.
we were giving everybody the Zika virus, apparently. And we had mosquitoes coming out.
Yeah,
It was
standing water
awful.
inundations.
It was gross. And I see also that you're including the roadway onto 15th. Right now, it's like a sinkhole, waiting for that to swallow us up. The whole, every time you go by, I don't know, keep it on that one.
I don't know which one you're talking about
It's
in
really-
particular, but I'd
okay.
like for you to come show me after.
On 15th, there's right across from that halfway house, right near us, right on Federal,
Mhm.
there's Federal and 15th.
Mhm.
And it's right there, and it's hysterical because it's getting deeper, it's
Hotel, the little hotel.
it's falling down farther and farther, it's starting to become, it's starting to become like, it's gonna swallow a car up.
As long as it's in the city right away in that segment, yeah, it'll be addressed.
You gotta go by it sometime, yeah.
And we'll make sure, we'll take a look at our plans and make sure we're including to take all that out.
They
of
put
it.
it- they put
A
it
marker
out.
out there, not going with a little marker.
And then people
whatever it is.
move it.
And then people
They
live
move it.
live in the apartment there, so I'm throwing it to the side.
It's becoming a joke, but everybody swings around it. So if cars
It's
coming,
so bad, yeah.
things like that.
So one of the reasons, one of the objects, I don't mean to interrupt your questions, we can just sit here and take them. I just want to explain that one of the objects of this board is to get feedback from you who live on the streets in the neighborhood about some of these items here, what issues you may have, if it happens to be crosswalks or street signage or speed reducers or anything of these types. If you have any specific issues that you would like us to try and address within our budgetary constraints, we want to identify those.
Mhm. And some of these things are budgetary wise, they're easy, some of them are a little more expensive, so it all depends on, the
As
street.
I was gonna say the same thing.
We have a sidewalk in front of our property,
Mhm.
because our houses were put in later. And then the
That's
next
right.
house, and then they stop,
It
and then it
stops.
goes, then you
We'll
have a
be
little
correcting
bit,
that.
one house has a sidewalk.
That's on
and
Lakeside
then-
Avenue.
So everybody walks in the street, on both sides
Both sides.
of Lakeside.
But we try to be on the sidewalk when we can, but it's
You
impossible.
never heard this from me, but even after we build sidewalks, most people still walk in the street.
I know. They did that-
I don't know why.
But they did that up north because when you're up in the New York area, because the icing, it was safer to be in the
Sure.
street with the salt on the street than it was to be on the sidewalk. But why they do it here, I have no clue.
Well, I mean, that's what it's snowing, up on the clouds go.
Exactly, so it's easier to be in the street, but here it's not. Here it's ridiculous, and it is, you walk in the streets all the time. That would be nice.
John
Yes, sir.
Alley.
That's
I
gonna be good.
noticed you're doing, with the water main on South End, South End, so from 12th all the way to 18th?
Yeah, 13th to 17th.
13th to 17th, yes.
Okay. And that, so you're saying that you're gonna be putting the road in there, obviously if you have to dig it up for water.
This water main here is actually in the alley though, yeah, right?
It's in the alley.
Right, and most of that
It's
is not
behind the
Shell
houses,
Rock.
because that's where the water meters already
Behind
are.
which houses? Behind the houses on
So it's
the,
between Federal and N,
between Federal and N?
yeah.
Okay, so you're not doing any road work on N Street?
We are doing work, yeah, sorry, there is road work on N Street as well, between 13th and 16th.
Okay, and then on 14th Avenue South from
It's just a little
N all the way
piece.
to Dixie Highway is dirt road still. Is that not?
Unimproved roadways, because we've run, there are a number of them throughout town, along the avenues. Some of them that are contiguously opened, if you will, like South Fifth Avenue and North 8th
14th.
Avenue. The city's turning them into greenways, or the CRA is turning them into greenways. My point being that the bond program is not structured, and what was not intended to improve unimproved roadways. It was intended to fix the roadways that need fixing. So to answer your question, no, if it's an unimproved roadway, it's not gonna get paved under this program.
So are they only gonna turn the ones in the greenways on the north side, or are they gonna do anything on the south side?
That I don't know. Do you guys have any idea what the planning is for some of those?
It depends, we've actually done greenways all over the south end and north end, so it,
Skip
see,
that one?
what's that?
Just skip that one, or?
It was based on, grant funding that we got, and that area, basically grant funding went to the communities that are a certain income level, considered, the poor neighborhoods, quote unquote. Yeah, so kind of the western areas of the city. So that area didn't qualify for the grant funding, but it may in the future, we're looking at converting any unimproved areas in the city to either a roadway or a greenway or some sort of improvement. Yeah.
By the way, I was remiss. I didn't introduce the two gentlemen in the back that walked in. It's Jamie Brown and Felipe Lafaso, the Director and Assistant Director of Public Services in Newport.
And the grant funding he was talking about was the CDBG through the county, Community Development Block Grants. But now that's over in code this upcoming year, so that's what we had been utilizing to do all of our greenways, like 8th Avenue North. And
So they redirected the funding, the commission elected to redirect that funding from roadway, construction projects to our code compliance department to fund staff for more code compliance efforts. So we get about $250,000 a year from that grant to do projects. Now it's redirected temporarily, we think.
It's pretty bad there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah. I'll have our maintenance guys take a look at it, maybe something we could do in the interim, but for right now, it's not on the schedule.
There's grass growing across.
Mhm.
If the city doesn't take care of it, I have to take care of it. It's not my property.
Actually, we have neighbors that like that. They got mad at me when I brought up like 14th, because 14th down in our area
Yeah.
is kind of closing in tighter and tighter. And I said, well, why don't we talk about having that opened up? And they're like, be quiet, we like it like this, it's
Yeah.
quiet. There's no one else gonna come down the street.
Not to get off topic, we do have something that's called a revocable permit. And what that does, that 14 South is 40 feet wide, right from your property to your guy on the other side. And each adjacent neighbor can take over half of that right away, fence it in. You basically, for lack of a better term, you own it. The city could at some point come back and take it if we ever want to do something, but rarely has that happened. So that's an option for you to look at, and you actually would increase your property by 20 feet by the whole depth
Really?
to the alley.
We've done that with the back alleyway since the,
Because we have a
In
lot
the
of those
since the
too.
80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So where do I have to go to do that? Sorry to get off topic.
No, that's fine, that's
Yeah, that's
fine.
okay.
I don't have a card on me, but if I can email you the info, or you got,
Just give me your name and I can find
We
it.
have some, we have some neighbors
Okay.
that
What
just
is
get
it?
planned.
it's Felipe Lafaso, yep. And,
Yeah, I've seen it where people actually line them with the coconut palms and stuff.
oh yeah,
They look beautiful,
Yeah.
they're wild, they're tropical, and so
Yeah.
it looks like it's part of their property.
yeah, exactly,
And I think that was their intent.
exactly. Yeah, we try our best, obviously, to maintain whatever's the city right away, but some things
It's
go
better than being dirt,
overlooked,
you know?
It's just people do 60
Yeah,
down there. I've seen multiple accidents.
That's it,
Really?
put up some palms and nobody's gonna get through without hitting something.
Yeah. They're pretty wild down
yeah.
Down the unapproved right away? It was 60 down?
there. Yeah.
Flying,
Flying down the dirt road, puts dust all on my AC.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
tomorrow.
So if you could change it
It's
from
pretty,
dirt,
and
that'd be
it's just
great.
like shale rock, like
yeah.
it's pretty bad.
Okay. That's from Federal to N?
You could put strips
From-
on it and give it
No,
flats.
from Dixie to 14th, No, from Dixie to N on 14th is just.
Okay,
I mean,
it's all unimproved.
Like they put sidewalks on, that would be M Street, on M Street, they put sidewalks across it,
Mhm.
and now it's just like, I mean, they put brand new sidewalks, but it doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. I mean, I know the construction guys, they came through and they put some loads of dirt down, flattened it out, but now everyone's just made it potholes now.
Mhm.
Do you wanna see how people have taken them over, go up and down Palmway? On 16th, it completely goes into nowhere.
Correct,
It just
yeah.
completely
Take 'em
ends,
over.
people just take them over.
Yeah.
I think it looks better than having, you know.
We prefer that, honestly. We'd love to do it all of them. It's less maintenance for us, you know, and you all get to
It
take
looks
ownership in
good.
it, yeah.
I think that improves,
So,
I think.
it's a simple application. I can send you all the information and it's real easy to do.
Well,
Yeah.
this property.
I'll find your email on the
Okay.
website.
All right, cool.
Send you the- Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, guys. Any more questions?
Timeline, and so, I know you said it, but exactly when are you gonna be doing the drainage one and the road work on 15th?
Okay, exactly, I have no idea.
Ballpark within like 2 months or 3 months?
We've got, all of the year 3 projects are in design right now. They are at the 50-60% plan level. And the goal is to have the plans ready for contract award or bid, depending on the plan that it is, in November-ish. And the idea for that is so that in sometime in January,
Sorry.
beginning of the calendar year, we can start construction. Now, you know, I can't tell you at this point in time until we get the projects awarded and I see schedules from the contractors, what their sequence of construction is gonna be. I mean, generically, if there are underground utilities, they're gonna do that first. And get their underground contractor out of the way, they'll follow behind him with the sidewalk, curb, and road work. But specifically which segments, other than that, I mean, you can see where the water main segments are, they're probably gonna start on those first, or the drainage segments, if there are any drainage, because of the underground utilities. But beyond that, I can't, until I get their schedule, I can't tell you what sequence your particular segment might be.
I got another question.
Sure.
This one here. Sidewalks, they've always been important to us too. Is how much does the city really own of the sidewalk? You know how people keep moving, like they do, they take over that property, making it impossible to actually walk past it, like the plants and everything. How much does the city really own if they wanted to put a sidewalk there?
Well, the city owns I understand what you're saying. People kind of tend to creep out towards the edge of pavement if there's no sidewalk there. That doesn't move the right-of-way line. That's what the city owns too.
So what is it?
Well,
Depends on where you are.
generically speaking, I mean, it could be 40 feet. Most roads in the city are 40 feet wide.
Yeah.
Right-of-way, some of them are 50, some of them are 60. In the older portions of town over here, many of them are 40, because, and it's sidewalk, curb, pavement, you know, parking lanes, et cetera. But yeah, if we have, if there's an identified need for a sidewalk, one of the goals of the program is to maintain a continuous pedestrian access along at least one side of every street. So we try to do that. Now, there are some segments in some neighborhoods that have been polled, and they said, we don't have sidewalks, we don't want sidewalks, don't even think about sidewalks, okay? That's not the rule, that's usually the exception. But yeah, we try to be selective about which side of the street that is. You know, if there are people that have obviously got a major, what appears to be a major investment in landscaping, even though they've done it in the city right away, if there's an alternative to making them take all that out, put a sidewalk in, you know, we'll try and work around that. But if there's a need for the sidewalk there, then sometimes they will lose that.
And we'll coordinate with each one of those
Yeah.
property owners individually and talk to them about that specific
So it's
situation.
not like squatters' rights where they decide that they've got it and they're not getting it.
Yeah, kind of.
It's the old west. Okay.
So, is there anything on this board that is a priority for you guys?
Yeah, you guys want to put stickers on them so we can show that?
Aesthetically, I like signage. I like
We used to have, the first year we started, we had twice as many pictures up there for people to vote on.
Too much.
But, well, then we realized that, you know, a lot of the people were voting for streetscaping and landscaping and trees, and that's really not what the bond money was intended for, so we had to line stuff
Do you have the money for doing like the signage over so it's all consistent and all like the old
Yes.
historical?
Yeah, actually, in historic districts, we are replacing all of the street signage.
All those
Historic-
down, we're
historic
not
signs.
exactly historic, we're like one block away.
Well, then, you're not getting a historic district sign.
That's good.
No, any, again, in the historic districts, we are replacing all of those street lights. But above and beyond that, I mean, to be cost effective, if there's nothing wrong with the signs and the contractor, when he takes them down, doesn't run over them with a piece of equipment, that's good enough to reuse those. But other than that, we will replace any signs that need to be replaced, whether they're stop signs, street blades, or regulatory signs of any kind.
Will they be adding any stop signs?
I'm sorry.
Will they be adding any stop signs? Have they done any,
We can look at that. We have looked at that in the past. That has become an issue on several of the north-south one-way letter streets, where you can go 6 or 7 or 8 blocks. Usually it coincides with speeding complaints and traffic calming, because there are like D Street and I guess the D Street really is the main one, both north and south, from 6th Avenue all the way up to 22nd. You can go for 6 or 7 blocks without hitting a stop sign. And it's wide open, and it just encourages people to hit the gas. So we will add stop signs. We try to limit segments like that to 3 blocks before you hit a stop sign. And we have, and we will add, if that's an issue, then we will add stop signs. Technically speaking, you're supposed to have warrants to do that. Not like, arrest warrants, but you're supposed to have done studies and gone through technical analyses to determine whether or not the stop sign is required or is warranted under certain criteria. This isn't Department of Transportation, and it's not huge Palm Beach County, it's Lake Worth. So trying to be more sensitive to the needs and the issues that the residents that live on the street are facing. We do address them.
But we can also look at speed reducing things, like the speed humps, instead of like a full stop sign, depending on the situation.
from 12th Avenue south down in all the way to 18th, there's no one stop sign. People
Those
are,
speed bumps, that's helped us, because they were drag racing down Palmer.
it pretty much feels like that, man. It's-
Lakeside too,
Yeah.
on Lakeside too, they were doing literally drag racing. So the speed bumps really do slow it down.
Yeah, now, a street like 12th Avenue South, and it's probably not as traffic intense as 6th, but what works better there, we found out, is rather than, because it's kind of sort of a mini thoroughfare, getting to the north-south roads, what tends to work better there, rather than making traffic stop every couple of blocks, is to use the chokers type of things that we do on 6th Avenue. Because of the visual, your tendency is to slow down when you see that narrowing of the pavement.
or dry lines.
Even though you see all the tire scuffs on the yellow paint, and you see the new trees where the old trees have gone down.
It's a
No,
big
it
curve
does
there,
work.
but
On
hard to
6th
get over
Avenue
that.
south, it works.
They do, they help tremendously. Yeah. And you still maintain the flow of traffic. There are a number of speed reducing techniques, that really they can be designed and used to cure certain specific problems. Sometimes speed humps will solve your problem in terms of depending on how frequently you place them and how high they are, et cetera, how they're designed. Sometimes they don't, or sometimes what's more effective are chokers or bump outs at intersections. So it depends on the particular circumstance and the particular issue you're trying to solve. And those are the things that the engineers put in.
Why did you leave it 6 inches? I understand with drainage, but couldn't you have come up with a way to do the drainage on the bump outs where it was over the curb so that you'd actually allow the drainage to go under it? The reason is that it seems like it's just that far out that cars are having a tendency to go out into the other side of the lane. So it's not even slowing them down as much as I'm seeing them come into my lane. So it's like that extra foot would be helpful. It was like,
The problem with jokers, bump outs, is that you have to, and the reason that that's done is the back curb of the island is intentionally placed at the face of the curb. And yes, there is like an 18-inch strip behind it. If you don't do that, and you interrupt that flow line of that curb, then you've got drainage issues you have to solve, because you may have to you can't force the water to go up and around and back down,
But you can do-
because it's a
you can do
longer
it bridge.
distance.
You can do it as a bridge, right?
I have seen like,
I've seen these bridges. where-
Grades.
little
Trench
gratings, little solid gratings that can be put over that, yeah.
It's a maintenance issue though,
They are maintenance.
tremendous
Are they?
maintenance issue. Oh, you get dirt all in there,
Yeah.
leaves, and they clog up.
Oh, okay.
Anytime you have something that's like that big and you got leaves coming down,
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Let's talk about timeline, when this is gonna start? Or
Yeah,
start?
we had
Okay.
talked about, hitting the ground with all of these projects sometime in January. Two different kinds of projects we'll have here, actually. In a situation like this, where we have drainage and water, a significant amount of water main and drainage potentially going in, a lot of underground utilities, we're going to put together, Jen Moore is going to put together a complete set of plans and a specification booklet, and we're going to competitively bid that. That's about a 2.5 month process. So the earlier we can get started on that, the better. The other project that we will do is, for example, and I believe this entire district is going to be a bid project. We have other districts where, can't see any in there right now. The predominant scope is roadways. There may be a drainage pipe here or there to solve a local problem. But if it's predominantly roadways and any underground utilities are minimal, then we will do what we call a push-button project. The city has five contractors under contract. The contracts were competitively bid last year. And they have a schedule of values. They were specifically put together with the bond projects in mind. And what we will do is we will look at those bid values, and we will compare those five contractors with the quantities that we get from the engineer on the various line items. And whoever comes in lowest, we just give them a contract. The city gives them a contract.
And that's
The
how
same terms of contract apply, in other words, in terms of, the performance that they have to do and the sensitivity that they need to have and sometimes don't for the residents as they're building these things. And, the quality and any testing, all that stuff's the same. But what this does is it gives the city the benefit of getting some of these projects that are perhaps less labor intensive in terms of having underground utilities off to a quicker start and getting them done faster. That's actually what we did in District 4 in year 1. We went through and analyzed the makeup of the different segments, and we found that the vast majority of the segments in District 4 were purely road segments, or road improvements. There was very little underground. So all of the green roads on here, they're
Either done or
either
almost
done or they're in construction right now.
15th is the worst, if you
Yeah.
get a chance.
So those were all the roads, and those were actually, they were identified. That's why we did, year 1 in District 4 had 2 projects, because there were so many segments, we didn't want to lump them all in one project. So we did a package A and a package B. Package A has been done since March. We're trying to get it closed out with the paperwork. Package B is what you're seeing being constructed out there right now. And that's, I forget, September or so, I think that the date is on that, but it should be done sooner than that. Contractors, somebody had a schedule down there.
Are you gonna have another one of these meetings? Because I did send out to people on my street, and most of the people are out of town.
Okay.
And I'd love to be able to have one show up.
Unfortunately, no.
Is it a
But
summer
what we will do, Jennifer Hoffmeister back there,
Hi, everybody.
with WGI is taping the meetings, recording all these meetings. those recordings are processed and they are uploaded onto the program website. So www.lakeworthroads.com. Or if you know the city website, which I think is lakeworth.org, there's a icon up there in the right-hand corner that you can click on, it'll take you to that website. you
And there's
can watch
also
the
a
videos.
hotline number, so if you have any
Yeah, there's a
questions, if your
hotline
neighbors
number.
have any questions, they can call.
Or, you know, folks can email us questions through the website. You know, we initially intended the website to be a communication vehicle between ourselves as the city's consultant to manage the program and the city staff and residents. What it also can be for people who are not able to attend these meetings, maybe watch the video and have other questions, they can email those questions in. We'll be happy to answer them. The emails that come into that website, I gotta quit telling people this. The emails that come into that website hit my inbox like that. So it comes right to me. The hotline, not so fast. Hotline I usually get sometime during the day.
We have, our staff listens
Yeah.
to the Hotmail on them, I mean,
But if
hotline.
anybody wants to ask a question or has a comment about the program or any particular project or a segment, yeah, just use the email through the
We'd love
website.
to hear everyone else's concerns as well, like you brought up, if your neighbors have concerns, and we'd love to incorporate it into our design.
The same thing, those that are the Lake Worth Roads, the meetings, there was like a video.
Yeah, there you go.
That'll be under this thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of those are from 2017 because those were years 1 and 2. We just started the meetings for year 3. Last week was the first one. This is the second one. So those will start becoming available on the website.
Got it, it's the same, because it seemed out of date.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you.
Anything else? Well, we certainly thank you for coming out tonight,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
please share the information with your neighbors, tell them to contact us through the website, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Here, you can do first, second, third place, priorities.
What city was that for? For West Palm? That's funny.
That's what we
That's funny. Yeah, that's crazy. Tired? Three in a row. There we go.
I want you to make sure and tell Brent when he gets back
Sorry, that's a.
how you made out. This is the District 4 meeting last year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did a lot of
The
people?
first District 4 meeting?
Oh, yeah.
There was probably 25 or so people here.
Really?
They had.
That's, well, it's good to get that many people.
We had some rowdy
You
contracts.
should take over this space. It's really good.
That's always a list that just done.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but you know what, it's becomes your space. And there's ways to do it.
Edit.
We'll be editing that.
Yeah. Oh, those guys, yeah.
Right off Dixie. Awesome. Down the one dirt road, cross, down my dirt road.
Oh, take that.
I went down to my parents in Miami.
Well, you know, when first
Oh
thing
my
I
God,
got,
like, it was like back way back in time, it was under the radio, the stairs that I walked in. And then all of the tapes and the little container.
Once grass grew.
I was talking to my dad last night, I'm like, you gotta stop listening to it. Just get Spotify and have music.
I'm embarrassed to say no, I can't.
You do, but you can't.
I bought it for zero.
What? Last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, 13, I think it's like.
I threw away all my DVDs.
Right on.
I might have a VCR you guys don't have.
Yeah.
A lot of old,
Beta.
DHS.
A lot of old, Starlit, Starlit.
Oh, yeah.
All those things.
Yeah, that was
I have like this little library, all these Starlit. I could buy a VCR now. They're still relevant. They're still good.
So instead of fighting it,
So, we have a number of letters over to our office. So tomorrow, I'm getting a door hanger, canvassing, and
All the interns?
interns have some words.
I know what's and psychological.
100-degree day.
And I'm like,
Out there.
I'm just sending interns out on the achievement. Right? Supervisor.
Probably 6 hours today.
It's like, great.
That's,
Because I'm right.
Probably Joe.
Yeah. I was there at that point.
Make sure you, of her
Yeah, I
contract.
feel bad for Amber, the alley's tight. I feel bad. It's like,
Super.
but that's,
Nothing's worse than flooding.